Revealed. The amazing transformation of a millionaire's mute daughter after one incredible sip. Emma Lois' world felt as if it was veiled in glass, brilliant, luxurious, yet utterly suffocating. Nestled in a sprawling mansion in affluent suburbia, she was the quiet shadow trailing behind her powerful father, a titan in the business world, who scrutinized every potential career avenue with a calculating gaze. Since childhood, his ambitions had been thrust upon her like a crown too heavy to bear. "You will carry the family name forward," he often reminded her, his voice thick with expectation. Her mother, always fussing over social appearances, never missed a chance to remind Emma how her worth was tied to that esteemed lineage of fine daughter, a dutiful heir to their legacy. Yet, all Emma felt was a gnawing emptiness and an overwhelming urge to escape the constraints of their aspirations. In the sanctuary of her room, filled with sketches yearning for attention, Emma sought refuge. Each pencil stroke on paper bled more vibrantly than her muted life. Creativity pulsed within her. Whispering truths her voice was too timid to utter, but no one saw her. They only saw her as the silent daughter of success personified, an enigma bound to their kingdom of wealth. "If only they could hear me," she mused. One rainy afternoon, while rummaging through the cluttered attic, Emma stumbled upon a dusty recipe book, an heirloom yellowed with time. Scribbled atop its fragile cover were the words "Brew for Creativity." Intrigued, excitement coursed through her veins. This could be her chance. Ignoring the gnawing doubts of inadequacy and the ever-watchful shadows of her parents, Emma decided to give it a try. Following each faded instruction, she brewed the concoction, her heart racing with anticipation. She took her first sip, and a whirlwind of inspiration ignited within her. It was as if a door within her soul had swung open, flooding her senses. What came next was extraordinary. Words flowed from her lips, eloquent and rich with comprehension. Ideas and artistic visions tumbled out, captivating the attention of her friends and family. But the ephemeral high soon met a sharp, ruthless reality. Her father's voice cut through the admiration like a knife, disbelief oozing from every syllable. "You're not cut from the same cloth. Art is not a career, Emma." Each dismissive word twisted her heart, emptying the excitement she had just found. A whirlwind of turmoil ensued. Hatred for the confines of high expectations battled with the intoxicating drive to express herself. Determined, Emma signed up for a prestigious local art competition, the murmurs of her father's disdain echoing in her ear. But just as her existence within the art world began to flourish, her beloved mentor was swept into scandal, threatening everything she had fought for. She could feel her dreams hanging by a thread. Emma wrestled with the duality of loyalty and ambition. Should she defend the mentor who had breathed life into her art, or heed her father's warnings about preserving the family name? The tension was physically palpable. Her heart raced, her shoulders tightened with stress. In each brushstroke, she poured her complicated emotions, attempting to forge a connection with fellow artists who also tasted struggle. They shared laughter and pain and reminded Emma she wasn't alone in her yearning for acceptance. As competition day loomed, she found herself frozen. The unfinished canvas before her spoke volumes, screamed for resolution. With every fleeting second, Emma could feel the weight of expectation squeezing tighter around her chest. Choices lay strewn before her, and a silent war raged within. Should she stand for the truth she believed in or succumb to the pressure that choked her dreams? The tension surged. Answers slipped further away. She inhaled deeply, staring at the chaos she had created. A brewing storm ready to unleash a reckoning of all that had silenced her. What path would she choose? The fear of her decision loomed, pressing harder than ever. But she longed to break free, to finally be heard. The morning sun poured through Emma's window, illuminating the scattered sketches that covered her desk, each one a fragment of the world inside her head fighting desperately for attention. The light felt foreign and jarring as the weight of impending decisions wrapped tightly around her. Competition day was not just hours away. It marked the potential rebirth of her identity. Yet that identity felt dependent on a shattered foundation. Emma leaned over the unfinished canvas, its blank surface mirroring the confusion swirling within her. Each stroke of the brush should have felt liberating, a release of everything she bottled inside. Instead, it felt like a chore, a painstaking exercise in futility, as visions blurred with doubt. How could she create when the voice of her father echoed consistently in her mind? Would he perceive her as a failure if she took a stand in support of her mentor? Silence loomed, echoing louder than words, taunting her in the stillness of the room. In that moment, the clamor of unresolved emotions collided with a flicker of determination. Who was she trying to please? A father who believed in predictability and a legacy bound in stock prices, or the artist blossoming within, fueled by a passion for creating art that spoke to truth? The fear dripped from that realization, fear of disapproval, fear of tarnishing the family name, but the inkling of self-assurance nudged insistently. Emma had never been given the grace to pursue what resonated deep within her until now. With fervor, she picked up her palette and began to mix colors, her heart pounding. Passion surged through her in vibrant hues as she let her instincts guide the brush. A landscape emerged, a representation of her inner turmoil. Dark storm clouds loomed overhead while bright rays of sun attempted to break through, much like her conflicting emotions battling for supremacy. Every stroke and blend felt like a declaration of independence, encouraging growth in the tumultuous soil of self-discovery. Yet, as the hours melted away, her phone buzzed with a notification. A quick glance revealed a message from her mentor, a plea for support amidst the chaos. The weight of loyalty hung heavy on her conscience. Could she praise artistry and creativity, knowing it might cost her mentor everything? Torn between two worlds, Emma shook her head in frustration. Her thoughts spiraled deeper, spiriting her back to her childhood memories of feeling invisible among the boardroom discussions and social gathering protocols. What had her life become living in expectation rather than authenticity? Each encounter with glittering company only deepened her isolation. As shadows grew across her studio, the looming confrontation with her father became inevitable. Would she stand tall and claim her right to follow her passion, despite knowing it ran counter to his desires? The implications shot through her like lightning, tearing at the web of her carefully curated image, yet presenting the tantalizing possibility of liberation. With every ounce of clarity she could muster, Emma scribed a response to her mentor, words streaming forth like water breaking through a dam. In that act of defiance, she felt a surge of empowerment, aligning her voice with the values she cherished: honesty, integrity, and the untamed spirit of her art. It was the moment of her reckoning. She drew a deep breath, bracing herself for the confrontation with her father that she knew she could no longer avoid. Steeling her resolve, she stepped away from the easel, heart racing, eyes ablaze with newfound purpose. But at the edge of freedom lay a harsh truth, one that could unravel everything she had cultivated in that fervor. How would he react? Would he understand? Or would he unleash his scorn? Emma stood at the precipice of destiny, the ground beneath her both unstable and deeply exhilarating. The moment had arrived, and she could feel the storm brewing within her, a storm that demanded to be unleashed. With every pulse, she sensed the inevitable conflict waiting to unfold. She steeled herself, knowing it could shatter her world or ignite a new beginning. Time to face the truth ahead, a truth that beckoned loudly, demanding to be heard. Emma paced briskly in her small studio, her heart drumming a furious beat that echoed off the walls. Each step felt heavy, weighted by the gravity of the decision she was about to make. She could still feel the texture of the brush in her hand, the way the colors blended under her fingertips. Yet those vibrant pigments felt worlds away from the stark reality of the confrontation she was preparing for, the one that could redefine her relationship with her father and herself. The staccato rhythm of her shoes against the floor became a mantra, pushing her thoughts into clarity. She had spent so long obeying the unspoken rules of her father's world, conditioned to present her life as a polished facade. Deep inside, however, a raw authenticity yearned for expression, a need for validation that didn't come with dollar signs or societal approval. With every heartbeat, Emma wrestled with the conflicting expectations, the way her father desired to mold her future, juxtaposed against her longing to carve her own path. Would confronting him be the ultimate betrayal or the first step toward self-actualization? The paths diverged painfully before her, and one would inevitably lead to conflict as she steadied her breath. Another wave of thoughts crashed against her resolve. What if he dismissed her dreams, reduced her identity to mere whimsy? How would that reflect on years of conditioning and adaptation? She could feel the familiar tendrils of fear tightening around her throat, but an equally strong spark of determination began to burn brighter within her. This battle needed to happen, not just for her mentor, but for herself. She glanced over her shoulder at the unfinished canvas, the storm clouds and sunlight that beckoned her story, a visual testament of the conflicting emotions she faced. She had given life to her inner world, pouring unbridled passion into its creation. Now, she needed to transfer that energy into her voice, to speak the truth that lay in the heart of her art. Emma moved to the mirror, staring into her own eyes, seeking strength in the reflection. "You are more than what he wants you to be," she whispered softly, a slight tremor in her voice giving way to fierce self-affirmation. No longer would she be defined by her father's expectations. It was time to reclaim her narrative, to mold her identity from the clay of her own choosing, shaped by the passion she had stifled for so long. Opening her phone, she stared at the message she had sent to her mentor, a demonstration of her loyalty that felt like a lifeline. But could she muster the same courage when faced with her father's disapproval? She needed a strategy, a way to navigate the murky waters of this impending confrontation with both clarity and composure. Taking a deep breath, she began to articulate her thoughts in the notes section of her phone. She needed to prepare herself for what lay ahead, her feelings, dreams, and the transformative journey she was prepared to embark on. As she typed, the words spilled forth with increasing urgency, an unfiltered recount of her life shaped by her father's shadow but now illuminated by her own aspirations. This was her manifesto, a declaration of independence from expectations that had cloaked her for too long. Suddenly, the phone buzzed in her palm, jolting her back to the present. It was a reminder of her father's arrival. The reality of her situation crashed down like a tidal wave, yet there was no retreat. She could not turn back now. Emma's pulse quickened as she tucked her phone away, grounding herself in the moment. She needed to project confidence even as her stomach nodded. Stepping out of the studio and into the hallway felt like walking onto an unseen stage. Each step echoed with the weight of sophistication her father expected from her and the authenticity she now demanded from herself. Reaching for the doorknob, she steeled herself, the final boundaries of her old life ready to be shattered. This came down to a reckoning. She would make her voice heard, and whether her father accepted her truth or sought to dismantle it, she couldn't remain silent any longer. As she opened the door, a thrilling mix of fear and exhilaration coursed through her veins. Emma squared her shoulders, stepping into the unknown, ready for the battle that could reshape the very fabric of her life. The time for truth had arrived, and she was about to demand it both from others and from herself. What awaited her on the other side of that door? Would her father's response ignite the creative fire within her, or would it extinguish the very dreams she was fighting to realize? As the door swung open, Emma was met with the sharp, clean scent of her father's cologne mingling with the faint aroma of coffee brewing in the kitchen. The air felt thick with expectation, as if every molecule was charged with the unspoken words that hung in the space between them. She stepped into the living room, her father's figure silhouetted against the bright backdrop of modern art pieces that adorned the walls, pieces he'd carefully curated to project the image of a cultured lifestyle. "Emma," he greeted, his tone neutral yet crafted with the gloss of practiced politeness. She could see the faintest shadow of confusion pass over his features, his mind likely racing to decipher the unusual tension radiating from her. "Dad, can we talk?" She heard the tremor in her own voice, but she pressed on, hoping the combination of steadiness and urgency would convey the significance of this moment. He gestured toward a plush leather chair, entirely at odds with the starkness of the conversation she intended to initiate. "Of course. I always have time for you." Settling into a chair opposite him felt like trying to inhabit a mountain. It was solid and imposing, yet she was determined to ascend it. "I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do with my life," she began, every word a bead of sweat falling from her brow. A flicker of impatience crossed his face, as if he anticipated the discussion would meander through the familiar tropes of her artistic inclinations. "You're still considering that art career? I thought we had agreed that no, Dad." "You agreed. I didn't. The words burst forth before she could filter them. A surge of courage powered by months of introspection. "I want to pursue my art, to take this seriously. I want to enroll in the program at the academy, take classes, and really immerse myself in the world I love. It's a part of me, and it's time I own that." She watched him process her words, the sharp lines of his jaw tightening. The silence stretched between them, a bridge of uncertainty laden with the weight of disappointment and disbelief. Emma's heart raced, anticipation mingling with dread. Would this be the moment they fell apart, or the moment that brought them closer? "Emma," he finally said, his voice much softer, laced with barely concealed disappointment. "You know your future is at stake. You have so much potential, why would you want to throw that away?" His words pierced through her resolve, a jab aimed squarely at the vulnerabilities she had only just begun to confront. But there was a fire igniting in her soul, one that burned brightly with the knowledge that this was not about throwing away potential. It was about redefining it according to her terms. "It's not throwing anything away. It's me becoming who I'm meant to be," she asserted, hope rushing back to fill the chasm of uncertainty. "Every piece I create connects with my experiences. It's my voice. And if I don't explore this now, I fear I'll lose the chance forever." "Do you truly believe that? Or is this just a fleeting impulse?" In that moment, the gravity of the question hit her. It's not an impulse, it's a newly discovered necessity. Her response came from deep within, a reflection of her emotional truth. Emma could see the way his brow furrowed, the complexity of her claim bamboozling him. This was a pivotal moment. She realized a mirror held up to them both, reflecting the chasm between expectation and reality. This life she envisioned was like the canvas behind her, filled with colors of her own creation, each stroke a mark of meaning. Every choice redefined her existence. As silence filled the room once more, she felt herself unsteadying, unsure if she had reached a breakthrough or only deepened the divide. Then he interjected, "You're my daughter. I've always wanted the best for you. But there are risks. There are always risks." She leaned in, emphasizing her resolve. "Do you want me to be happy?" His eyes wavered, but she could sense a struggle within, the instinctual desire for a daughter who shared his values clashing with the realization of the person she was evolving into. This was the inflection point. The battle she had both dreaded and yearned for was now a palpable reality. Emma's heart thundered as she prepared to demand what she needed most: acceptance, perhaps even understanding. Would he see her willingness to fight for herself, or would it awaken ancient wounds he carried, compelling him to further push her away? "Emma, think about what you're saying. Don't you believe I can rise to this?" In that challenging moment, a newfound fear pushed forward, not of losing her father's approval, but of her own potential, a lost opportunity for self-discovery. Outside, the sky darkened, mirroring the tempest of emotions contained within their dialogue. The air was electric with tension as Emma braced for his next words. Would he embrace her newfound strength, or would he seek to dismantle her? "Your potential lies not in art but in our family business," he insisted, a final defense against the growing distance. Her pulse quickened as she prepared for the most crucial revelation, yet a turning point in their fractured relationship, and perhaps her own self-discovery. "Maybe that's not where my potential lies anymore." The moment teetered on a knife's edge, as realities shifted and motivations collided. Would this truth ignite her father's understanding or render her aspirations null in his eyes? The atmosphere crackled, and Emma held her breath, ready for the momentum of change to either shatter or reshape her world forever. The silence that followed hung like an unacknowledged truth, one neither could bear but both were unwilling to shatter. Emma felt her father's gaze assess her with such intensity. It was as if he were weighing her soul, measuring the worth of her aspirations against the life he envisioned for her. "I've sacrificed so much for this family," he finally spoke, his voice steady but tinged with defensiveness. "You don't understand, this business is our legacy. The art world is fickle, can swallow you whole." Emma inhaled, her hands gripping the edge of her chair, fighting the tempest of emotions. She knew his intentions were driven by love, but feeling caged by his expectations suffocated her spirit. And who am I in that legacy, Dad? She pressed, her voice barely above a whisper. Just a cog in the machine? Each word she spoke was a brushstroke on a canvas layered with her fears and fervor. She longed to unleash the vibrant colors of her authenticity, yet the black and white schematics of familial expectation threatened to smother her. Couldn't you find a way to contribute to the family while still pursuing this passion? He countered, a flicker of desperation weaving into his logic. The thought momentarily arrested her resolve, but she quickly dismissed it. Was that the compromise she sought? A life in the shadow of her father's dreams? I don't want to compromise, she confessed, her eyes glistening with determination. I'm ready to fight for what I really want. This isn't just a phase for me. A spark of confusion crossed his features, as if the very notion of her self-definition challenged the foundation they both stood upon. You're making an impulsive decision, he said, this time almost pleading, hoping to deter her from an irreversible path. I'm making a decision, she shot back, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Finally, it's mine. Emma took a deep breath, preparing for the next step of her journey. It wasn't merely about asserting her choice. It was about embracing the uncertainty that came with it. She felt poised at the precipice of transformation. She had acknowledged the genuine fear that bubbled within her, fear of failure, the weight of expectations, and perhaps deep down, the fear of disappointing her father who had been her unwavering compass. Yet, she also recognized a newfound sense of purpose rising within her. Do you know what my biggest fear is? That I will wake up one day and realize I never took a chance. That I let your vision of success overwrite my aspirations. The air became thick with unspoken words, and her father shifted slightly in his seat. Emma was astutely aware that their conversation teetered between revelation and stalemate, a bonding moment or a final division. Maybe we both need to redefine what success looks like, she continued, her voice steady. For years, your expectations felt like chains. But I'm ready to break those chains. His gaze softened gradually, the mask of authority faltering under the weight of her sincerity. Would he see her not just as a daughter destined for a predetermined life, but as an individual fighting to carve her narrative in a world that often overlooked the artist's voice? The love in the room started to reshape. It crackled with possibility, yet teetered between acceptance and apprehension. Emma, he hesitated, the weight of her words infusing their connection with a performance of complex emotions. She could sense his internal battle. The desire to protect her mingled with a dawning realization that to truly protect her meant letting go. I'm asking you to trust me. Trust that I can find my own way and that you can be a part of that journey, she said, her heart racing as the moment of decision loomed large outside. Rain pattered against the windowpane, echoing the tumultuous nature of their conversation. The world shifted, as if nature itself mirrored the tension between father and daughter. Each dropped something pressing against perceived boundaries. His lips parted, but before he could form a response, Emma felt a shift within her. It was an empowering surge of clarity, a step into the unknown that she had not anticipated. Her dream felt tangible, almost within reach, not solely a distant hope but a realm of possibility she could finally step into. Will you be there to help me, or will you hold me back? As the question hung in the air, both their futures dangled in the balance. Emma awaited his response, the impending answer feeling like fate writ large. Would a new understanding arise from their shared uncertainty? Or would the distance grow, chasms deepening with unreciprocated aspirations? Outside, a flash of lightning illuminated the room, and in that brief moment, a truth loomed. Transformation often demanded a storm before the dawn. But at what cost would this storm come? Emma was ready to find out. The tension in the room held its breath, suspended between them, before her father finally broke the silence. I don't want to see you fail. The world is harsh, Emma. His tone bore concern, yet Emma sensed a fraying tether, a last attempt to anchor her within the legacy he had built. She throbbed with conflicting emotions, love mixed with the urge for independence nipping at her heels like a racing heartbeat, ready to break free. What would it mean to embrace her vision fully? Each possibility spun within her like a kaleidoscope of color, freedom interwoven with uncertainty, joy shadowed by incessant doubt. But this moment was a catalyst, a burning coil that urged her towards self-discovery. I appreciate that, Dad. Truly. But I need to know what it feels like to chase my dreams without reservations. The words poured out, fiercely determined. They were not mere aspirations anymore but rather declarations of power. As her father shifted uneasily, Emma noticed the tremble in his jaw, a flicker of realization that there was much more to her than the familiar role he envisioned. As she watched him wrestle with her words, her heart quickened. The acceptance she craved from him was both terrifying and exhilarating. His eyes, once filled with authority, now mirrored a struggle to adapt. What if you don't succeed? What if you end up regretting this? What if I don't try? She countered, her voice cracking slightly. What if I live the rest of my life buried under what-ifs, wondering who I could have become? Those questions ricocheted in the air, puncturing through the dense fog that often suffocated their conversations. There was a chance now. A flicker of understanding could ignite a path toward reconciliation. She drew on that feeling, letting it feed her courage. Yes, there's risk, she continued, her voice slicing through the doubt. But isn't it equally risky to confine my whole life to someone else's expectations? You've taught me ambition, yet why can't I use it to explore my own canvas? Something in her father's posture shifted, as though the weight of his armor began to loosen. Art can lead to instability, Emma. I can't just stand idly by as you risk everything. I'm not asking you to stand idly by, she insisted, urgency swimming beneath her words. I want you to be a part of this. Empower me, help me navigate it, teach me, and let us redefine this legacy together. His eyes softened, revealing flickers of vulnerability. Emma's heart raced, sensing a crack forming in the rigid framework of their relationship. Perhaps this was the storm revealing new horizons, her father's fears against her aspirations. Two individuals, both lost in their own way. Maybe he started, uncertainty lacing his embodiment. This journey can reshape who we both are. Emma felt the tide begin to shift, that flood of hope against the uncertainty of an artist's life. It rallied through her veins like a euphoric rush, her future bursting with potential possibilities. What if this was the moment she would redefine not just her path, but theirs? Yet, the possibility of a full embrace still felt distant. Would he truly welcome this partnership, or would hesitations still loom, tethering them to the past? A new question bubbled to the surface, one that tugged on the threads of her confidence. But what happens if this doesn't lead where we hope? The pause hung heavily, punctured by rain continuing to weave its own rhythm outside, mirroring the essence of their conversation, the rising storm of conflict and the hope for clarity. This new dawn was not without its shadows. Could both father and daughter unite in this exploration, brave enough to mold their aspirations together? Emma clenched her fists, resolve stealing within her. She would no longer dwell in the margins of uncertainty. Let us meet this head-on together. But know this, I will not turn back. I am moving forward, whether you join me or not. As she stood there, Emma felt her heart leap, the joy of that resolve pulsing like a beacon. This was only the beginning. The moment had arrived. It was time to claim her story. Yet, deep within her, a question lingered. What unforeseen challenges lay ahead, waiting for them both on this uncharted journey? What if they encountered adversaries along the way, testing their bond and resolve like never before? Emma knew fear was part of growth, but the path forward was riddled with unknowns. But she couldn't back down now, not when her future glimmered just beyond the haze. As she stared into her father's eyes, the scene shifted once more. It was not just about personal development. It was about their evolving relationship amidst the tumult of dreams and disappointments. The tension wrapped tightly around them as realization settled. This journey wasn't merely hers to embark upon. It was a shared reckoning. She was ready to delve deeper, but would he? The invisible net of uncertainty tightened once more as both contemplated their next move. Only time would tell if they would redefine not just their individual futures, but the essence of their bond. Emma stepped outside, letting the cool air clear her mind. With each breath, the weight of her father's expectations began to feel lighter, the damp air refreshing as it washed over her skin, rejuvenating her spirit. Gone was the shaking uncertainty of moments prior. Instead, a burgeoning confidence replaced it, fueled by a fierce resolve. The streets were alive as she walked, the rhythmic pulse of the city urging her forward. Emma embraced her surroundings, the vibrant colors of storefronts, the echoes of laughter from cafes, the distant sound of a street performer. This was the canvas of her dreams, and she was ready to dive in headfirst. She felt a growing urge to explore her artistic instincts, to put brush to canvas or pen to paper. Yet, with creativity comes vulnerability, and that stirred the question. Who would she be without her father's safety net? The thought clung to her consciousness as she navigated the crowd, her determination warring with her insecurities. Reaching a park bench, she sat down, closed her eyes, and envisioned what her art could look like if it were truly hers. What would emerge from her depths? Would it be the self-portraits she had long wanted to paint but had abandoned in favor of imitating others? Or would it be raw expressions of her innermost feelings, reflecting her evolving identity? With each breath, the possibilities illuminated her internal landscape, weaving threads of excitement through her veins. Then, like a sudden crash of thunder, doubt slashed through her resolve. A voice, once familiar but now haunting, echoed in her mind. Art can lead to instability. Her father's words morphed into a chilling reminder of the precarious balance between aspiration and failure. Could she endure the risk? More importantly, did she possess the talent she believed she could develop? Before she could spiral deeper, Emma reminded herself of the conversation they just had. This was not a solitary venture. Her father had left the door open for collaboration. She could utilize their shared history as a means to strengthen her journey. A rush of possibility flooded her. Perhaps she could find mentors, others whose paths crossed with hers to help build the foundation she sought. Suddenly, her phone chimed, breaking the silence of her contemplation. It was a text from her childhood friend, Kayla, an artist on her own rising trajectory. "Hey, Emma, I've got an exhibition coming up. Wanna come see my new pieces?" Emma's heart raced. This was an invitation to witness someone embracing their passion unapologetically. "I'd love to," she typed back, biting the inside of her cheek in excitement. This could be the spark she needed to fuel her progress. Kayla was fearless in her ambition. Perhaps that infectious energy could embolden her to take the next step. As she headed back home, a plan began to take shape in her thoughts. She would attend the exhibition, not just as an audience member, but to engage, ask questions, and network. There would be no walls built around her, no hesitation in approaching individuals who might see her potential. This was an opportunity to learn, to connect with the artistic community she had long distanced herself from. With her resolve steadied, Emma thought of her father. If she shared what she discovered, how she would take the plunge into this world? Would he see her growth, her potential, and ultimately, her courage? But she knew she must confront him again, to further explore the thoughts and realizations that were emerging. Just as she crossed the threshold of their front door, an unexpected apprehension flickered in her chest. She was venturing into unknown territory, where rejection could loom large. Yet, the pulse of creativity thrummed within her, urging her on. "Tomorrow," she whispered to herself, "it's time to show him the artist I've found within." Her heart pounded as she stepped into the living room, the familiar warmth of home wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. Yet the shadows of doubt still danced around her resolve. How would her father react to the new direction she was eager to explore? Would understanding blossom, or would hesitation darken the air yet again? The paradox of their shared journey loomed, tantalizingly close yet painfully out of reach. Emma felt a tingling sense of urgency. She had to act on her plans quickly, for time was woven tightly with courage. But as those reflections washed over her, another question nagged at the fringes of her mind. What if the artistic world wasn't as welcoming as she hoped? What if success eluded her grasp even after she took the leap? With that unresolved tension hanging in the air, Emma took a deep breath and prepared for what was to come, choices that would reach beyond her comfort zone and challenge the very fabric of her identity. Tomorrow would mark a turning point, but little did she know, the most demanding test awaited her beyond the exhibition, where adversaries with their own dreams and challenges would rise to meet her. Would she be ready to fight for her dreams, or would the pressure fracture her resolve? The answer lay just out of reach, waiting for the moment when the next chapter would unfold. The sun peeked through the curtains, streaking soft light across Emma's bedroom. Today felt different, but the excitement that swelled within her was undergirded by an undercurrent of trepidation. Today, she would step into a realm that had been shrouded in uncertainty for far too long. This was the day she would embrace her identity as an artist, departing from the shadows of others' expectations. With each brushstroke of her morning ritual coffee brewing, canvas set up, and artwork scattered around, Emma felt the pulse of determination. She was building momentum, preparing her mind to tackle the challenges that awaited her. The memory of Kayla's text flashed brightly in her mind. Her friend's artistic journey was a vivid reminder of what was possible as she dressed. Anticipation morphed into strategy. She mentally rehearsed what she would say at the exhibition. Could she convey her passion without tumbling into self-doubt? Emphasizing her intent to learn rather than compete felt like a safe harbor. But the deeper truth was her desire to cultivate her own artistic voice, one that could finally resonate without any filter or imitation. Arriving at the gallery, Emma marveled at the vibrant colors spilling from the walls. Each piece emanated energy and stories waiting to be heard. But with each step, the walls of her self-imposed fortress began to close in. She could feel the weight of judgment and comparison unsettling her stomach. What if her artwork didn't evoke the same admiration? What if her vision remained trapped inside her? Suddenly, she spotted Kayla across the room, animated and surrounded by admirers. The magnetic pull of her friend's audacity was undeniable. With quiet resolve stitched into her heart, Emma approached. As she stepped into the circle, she felt completely exposed, a newcomer in a domain ruled by seasoned creators. Yet, instead of retreating, she took a deep breath, introducing herself to several artists, and their shared energy wrapped around her like a protective shield. Conversations flowed, igniting sparks of intrigue within her. "What inspires you?" one artist asked. The question dissolved her lingering fears, leaving her with clarity. She spoke about her longing to express vulnerability through self-portraits, letting her resolve cut through any timidness. This was her moment, a dance of self-discovery unfolding within the cadence of dialogue. Each response lit her enthusiasm, a magnet drawing her deeper into this vibrant world. Hours squeezed by as Emma plunged into discussions that sparked new ideas, each connection affirming her resolve. But then, as the exhibition took a slight pause, she sensed a shift across the gallery. A voice sharp and discerning caught her attention. It belonged to a critically acclaimed artist known for her ruthless critiques. Art is not only about passion, it's about precision. It's skill, not sentiment, she declared to the nearby gathering. Emma's pulse quickened, a familiar chill racing down her spine. Words often delivered under the guise of constructive criticism had a way of morphing into emotional daggers when aimed at ambition. The artist's voice penetrated her growing confidence, heralding a moment of reckoning. Could she live with the reality that her art might be deemed inadequate? It felt absurd to consider abandoning her dreams simply because someone else had wielded a judgmental brush. But instead of retreating, she confronted the fear head-on, internalizing it as fuel. Perhaps vulnerability could coexist with precision. Perhaps allowing her art to evolve through raw emotions would carve a path to authenticity, one that would invite resilience to frame her journey. As the exhibition resumed, Emma approached Kayla again, energized by the encounter. "Can we talk about showcasing our journey through art together?" Emma's voice was steady, her gaze earnest. The idea surged within her, a collaborative exploration of their artistic growth. Realizing she could share this intimate journey ignited something deeper, a mingling of hope and fear that shattered the last remnant of her apprehension. As the two friends solidified plans, Emma understood that overcoming the weight of expectation was a necessary part of her evolution. but so was seeking resources and support. She grasped that showcasing their shared experiences would add depth to their artistry. Yet as she left the gallery that evening, the doubts began to swell again. How would they tackle inevitable critiques? Would their collaboration withstand the pressure of expectations? Alone in the twilight, Emma wrestled with her shaky optimism. The thought of facing the harsh realities of the art world loomed ominously. Her journey was still just beginning, and the allure of potential failure loomed large. With her heart racing, Emma whispered the promise to herself. She would not let fear dictate her path. The time had come to fully embrace who she was becoming. But just as victory seemed possible, an unexpected message appeared on her phone. It was a direct challenge from one of the established artists she admired, a competitive call-out for a showcase. A whirlwind of uncertainty seized her. Was she ready to confront this reality? The stakes had suddenly escalated, and now she had to decide. Step up to the challenge or fade quietly into the background. What would she choose? Emma stared at her phone, her heart racing at the implications of the message. The established artist's direct challenge felt like a sudden surge of blood rushing to her head, blurring the contours of her carefully constructed plans. She had just tasted the excitement of the art world, and now she faced a potential turning point. Each pulse of her heartbeat echoed the question at the forefront of her mind. Was she ready for this? She recalled the vibrant colors of the gallery, the energy of the artists, and the rich conversations that had sparked her inspiration. Yet, the intensity of the challenge drew shadows overhead, casting doubt on her budding confidence. Did she have what it took to stand amongst them? The call-out wasn't just about a showcase. It was a spotlight aimed squarely at her vulnerabilities. In a moment fueled by adrenaline, she tapped her fingers on the screen, composing a response that trembled between enthusiasm and dread. Should she accept the challenge outright or take a moment to reflect? With each letter she typed, questions swirled through her mind. What if this was too soon? What if she crumbled under the pressure? A surge of ambition collided with her instinct to retreat into obscurity. Decisively, she hit send without overthinking. For better or for worse, she had entered the game. The message was out, and she felt a semblance of power in her decision. Still, a cloud of anxiety hung above her. If acceptance felt like a step forward, it also meant exposing her art and inner self to scrutiny. In the following days, Emma's life morphed into a whirlwind of preparation. She set aside her previous ideas to spearhead a new project. She envisioned her art piece as an intricate tapestry woven from threads of experiences, both the scars and the triumphs that she intended to express through her unique self-portraits. With each stroke of her brush, she ventured deeper into the exploration of her identity. The blank canvas no longer felt daunting. It became a sanctuary where she could peel away layers of expectation. Simultaneously, Emma wrestled with the desire to seek guidance from Kayla. Their partnership had opened her eyes to the concept of shared artistry, but this challenge beckoned her to assert her individuality. She wanted to prove to herself that she could rise on her own merit. As the project intensified, her feelings towards collaboration intertwined with the essence of self-assertion. Could she balance both her journey and the connection with her friend without undermining either? In the quiet moments of the night, she questioned the tension that brewed in her mind. Was she honoring their collaborative spirit by focusing inward? Or was she falsely inflating her ego at the expense of their shared ambitions? Those thoughts illuminated a crucial aspect of her development: the delicate equilibrium between personal expression and external cooperation. As she painted, the textures and colors both mirrored her thoughts and gave rise to fresh insights. Each session invited her to unearth not just her artistic ambitions but also her comfort levels with vulnerability. Was she willing to tear down the barriers of fear to embrace authenticity? The layers of her art began to reflect the multifaceted nature of her character, creating a visual metaphor for the battle within. The night before she was set to unveil her work, Emma's anticipation morphed into sleeplessness. Thoughts of potential critique circled like hungry hawks, threatening to swoop down into the depths of her nervousness. She fought against the self-doubt with every breath. She was now entrusting her heart to the public view, staking her identity on a canvas. But as dawn broke, she steadied herself in front of the mirror. It was time to confront her choices. At that moment, a wave of clarity washed over her. This was not only a showcase of her work, it was a testament to her growth. That realization lit a fire within. The artist she was becoming was forged in the challenge. But there lay ahead another pivotal choice. A nagging thought surfaced: could the stakes heighten even more? The message from the established artist seemed a mere prologue. Would the true test arise from the art world after the showcase? Emma's phone buzzed once more, revealing potential contacts from other artists she had previously admired. The pressure was building. What if this challenging reality was just the beginning of something greater? What would be the impact of her decisions tomorrow, under the scrutiny of the art community? The day of the showcase arrived, pulsing with the electric tension of anticipation. Emma stood in front of her canvas, reflecting everything she had learned, faced, and conquered. The vibrant self-portraits she painted transformed under the harsh lights of the gallery, depicting not just her struggles, but the beauty of her resilience. Each brushstroke was a testament to her journey. Every hue and note in the symphony of her evolving identity as she prepared to unveil her work. The anxiety that clawed at her chest was familiar, but this time, it was layered with pride and determination. She had come face to face with her fears, her father's expectations, the industry's harsh realities, and her own self-doubt, and she had emerged stronger, more resolute. The soft murmur of the gathering crowd buzzed around her. Emma could hear the textured conversations, filled with wonder about the art on display. She recognized familiar faces like Kayla, whose pride sparked encouragement as they exchanged smiles. Friends, mentors, and even new connections began to circle, enveloping her in an atmosphere that vibrated with vitality and opportunity. With a deep breath, Emma stepped into the spotlight. This work represents more than just art, she began, her voice steady and clear, resonating with confidence. It illustrates a journey of self-discovery amidst expectations and fear. Each piece reflects my evolution through the trials I faced, both internal and external. This canvas is not just a reflection of me, but a declaration of my voice. As she spoke, Emma felt the support radiating from those around her. Applause erupted following her words, validating the personal truth she had fought so hard to express. The warmth of acceptance flooded through her, anchoring her newfound conviction. After sharing her story, she wove through the crowd, engaging in passionate conversations with others who appreciated her perspective. They offered ideas, shared stories of their artistic pursuits, and she reveled in the vibrant community she was finally a part of. This was where she belonged, a tapestry of artists forging paths that resonated with authenticity. But the true test awaited her beyond the crowd, hidden among the applause and accolades. An encounter with the renowned artist who had posed the initial challenge loomed. When their eyes met, Emma felt an odd mixture of trepidation and resolve. The moment was ripe with potential. Failure loomed, yet so did the possibility of validation. Emma, the artist began, her gaze appraising. I've seen your work and applaud your passion. Yet, to truly excel, you'll need to refine your craft further. The world is demanding, and your style must be as precise as it is expressive. This could shatter her spirit or further ignite her ambition. Feeling potent now with unyielding resolve, Emma met her gaze. I appreciate your insights, but this journey is about more than precision. It's about authenticity. I want my art to resonate with truth, not just skill. The slight smile that maneuvered across her lips revealed the newfound confidence she had built layer by layer. They exchanged ideas, sparking a dialogue that both challenged and motivated her. Emma felt invigorated. This was not rejection, but an invitation to grow further, to find the balance between vulnerability and excellence. The conversation morphed into a mentorship possibility, illuminating pathways she once considered unreachable. Following the event, Emma reflected on the profound shift within her. The storm of fear that had once paralyzed her transformed into channels of exhilarating possibility. She realized that success surpassed mere accolades. It lay in the audacity to remain true to oneself, something she had demonstrated both to her father and the artistic community. This was not the end. She had crafted her own narrative, a legacy of artistry blended with authenticity and resilience. Emma had achieved what seemed impossible. She transformed her voice, exercised agency over her life, and, most importantly, she did this all while standing firmly in her truth. The weight of expectation still loomed, but the battlefield of her mind was more resilient to its demands. Her father, for all his ambitions, now saw not just a daughter molded by legacy, but a creator demanding space for her dreams. Their conversations would reshape their relationship as she continued to navigate her extraordinary course as Emma embraced the awakening of her identities. She knew this was only the beginning of her journey, a canvas still awaiting the infusion of her vivid experiences. She stood poised and ready, a brush in hand, a heart full of daring hope, and a soul craving authenticity in the vast landscape of life unfolding ahead. So, now is the moment to embrace your own journey toward authenticity and self-discovery. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and show your support. And don't you dare forget to comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Transformative experiences await us all. Don't wait even one more second to share this journey of personal growth.